The Cleveland Browns locker room didn't just simmer after the final whistle. It detonated. In a season already defined by tension, confusion, and constant internal friction, what unfolded after this game pushed everything into a new category entirely. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't quiet. It wasn't something the organization could hide behind clichés or empty coach speak. This was raw, emotional, unfiltered truth spilling directly from the voice of the player the Browns desperately need to build around. And the fact that it came from a rookie quarterback made it even more explosive. Because this wasn't just any rookie. This was Shedeur Sanders, the young star who had just carried an entire battered roster on his shoulders and delivered one of the greatest performances the franchise has seen from a first-year quarterback. He had played with precision, poise, and purpose, refusing to let Cleveland collapse under its usual late-game pressure. He fought through bad weather, through defensive breakdowns, through protection issues and coaching misfires, and still delivered 364 yards and 4 total touchdowns. He was the reason this team had even a flicker of hope in the final minutes. And yet, when the Browns needed 2 yards to tie the game, when everything he had worked for was hanging in the balance, when it was time to reward his leadership, his resilience, and his excellence, the coaching staff made a decision that left the entire NFL world speechless. They benched him. They pulled the quarterback who had dragged them back from the brink, who had outplayed the #1 overall pick, who had been the steady heartbeat of an inconsistent team, and replaced him during the most important play of the afternoon with a gadget look that had never worked in practice. It was the moment every Browns fan felt their stomach drop. And it was the moment Shedeur Sanders began to understand that he wasn't simply fighting opposing defenses. He was fighting an organization that didn't seem to recognize what it had. His press conference afterward exposed everything. Every fracture, every mistake, every sign that the coaching staff and the quarterback room are marching in different directions. He walked in composed at first, shoulders squared, voice calm, choosing his words carefully the way veterans with 10 years' experience often do. But you could see it in his eyes. The frustration wasn't sitting below the surface. It was boiling. And eventually it erupted. Not recklessly, not disrespectfully, but honestly. So honestly that the room shifted. Reporters leaned forward. Cameras steadied. Because they all knew they weren't just listening to a standard rookie reaction. They were witnessing the beginning of a franchise-altering confrontation. Shedeur tried to stay measured. He praised teammates. He reflected on execution. But it didn't take long before the question swung toward the elephant in the room. Why wasn't he on the field for the 2-point conversion? And when reporters softened the question, skating around the real issue, he did something rarely seen from a rookie quarterback in Cleveland. He called them out. He asked why no one was pressing Kevin Stefanski. Why no one was questioning Tommy Rees. Why no one was holding leadership accountable for decisions that every fan, every analyst, every teammate could see made no sense at all. He wasn't emotional for the sake of theatrics. He was emotional because he had just poured everything into this game only to watch his coaches snatch the moment away from him. And when he revealed that the very play they chose instead had never worked successfully in practice, the shock in the room was palpable. How does that happen in the NFL? How does a coaching staff look at a quarterback who is shredding a defense and decide to trust a play they knew was unreliable? Yet even in his frustration, even as he exposed the dysfunction around him, Shedeur carried himself with the poise of a franchise quarterback. He spoke of faith, of mental clarity, of staying grounded when surrounded by confusion and adversity. He acknowledged his own mistakes, dissecting his interception with honesty and ownership, explaining his thought process, and outlining how he plans to grow from it. He didn't deflect. He didn't blame teammates. He didn't shrink from responsibility. Instead, he described the game in terms of learning, elevating, adapting, everything you want from a leader. He even addressed the tension with Jerry Jeudy, turning a public disagreement into a moment of unity by purposely focusing on forgiveness in the pregame and then connecting with him for a touchdown. His words demonstrated maturity beyond his years, showing he understands the emotional landscape of a team just as much as the physical one. In many ways, he was acting more like the head coach than the men actually holding those titles. But underneath all of that composure lay something deeper. The unmistakable sense that Shedeur Sanders is beginning to realize he may need to take control of his own destiny. He spoke of being comfortable in uncomfortable situations, of embracing adversity because his story inspires others to do the same. He spoke like someone who has already accepted that his journey in Cleveland will not be easy, that the obstacles he faces come not only from opponents but from within his own building. And that's why this press conference changes everything. It wasn't just a rookie venting. It was the public confirmation of internal fractures that have existed for weeks. It was a quarterback making it clear that he expects better, not out of selfishness, but because he knows what's required to win in the NFL. It was a player telling an entire organization that if they can't see what he brings to the table, the problem isn't him. It's them. This is the crossroads moment for Cleveland. Either they correct course, give Shedeur the trust he has earned, and commit to building around him with intention and intelligence, or they run the risk of repeating the same tragic cycle that has defined their franchise for decades. Shedeur Sanders has already proven he belongs. Now it's time for the Browns to prove they deserve him. If this breakdown hit you the way Shedeur's press conference hit the NFL world, make sure to smash that like button right now. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Did the coaches sabotage their own quarterback, and should Cleveland make changes before they lose the one star who actually gives them hope? And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because we're following every twist of this unfolding drama. And trust me, the next chapter is going to be even more intense.